Hello YouTube, this is Neon. The topic of my discussion today is going to be going the extra mile. In yesterday's talk and in some of my other talks, I mentioned Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is sort of, I guess, the father of success, right? The father of success principles. He has 17 of them, of these success principles. They're a little bit more geared towards material success, but material success is not the only kind of success, and Napoleon Hill talks about that in his later books. Going the extra mile is one of the laws of success that Napoleon Hill talks about in books like Think and Grow Rich, and I don't even remember the titles because it's been so long since I've read his books. I go over the highlights of the 17 principles of Napoleon Hill every day, but it's from an online little, I guess it's a PDF, and it's for foods. I think it's for food service workers, something of that nature. But I have read several books by Napoleon Hill in the past, and I think he's a great author and has great things to say. Going the extra mile has different facets to it. One of his basic principles is something of the nature of the quality of the service plus the quantity of service plus the mental attitude or the attitude, demeanor in which that service is rendered will equal our compensation. So he recommends that we always do a little bit more than we're paid for. Like staying an extra 5 minutes after we're off the clock and doing something extra at our job. That increases the quantity of our work. We're not being paid for it, and do it with a good attitude. So over time, that work, that little extra work that we've done, especially if we've done it in a good attitude, is deposited in a spiritual bank account that will begin to grow compound interest. When it spits it out, when the universe spits that out at us, spits it back out to us, it will be exponentiated. Okay, so that's one aspect. Another aspect of going the extra mile, to my understanding, based on what I've read, based on my memory of what I've read, deals with literally just doing things to help other people without expecting anything back in return. And that deals with our time, talents, and money. All three, ideally. The reason going the extra mile is my favorite law is because Napoleon Hill, he says that of the 17 laws of success, that it's the most powerful law that a person can practice alone. They don't need anybody's help to practice this law. So this law, for me, it's been a law that I've been practicing, I would say, since I started tithing back in 1999. But in about 2005, 2006 is where I began to do more volunteer work, and then especially in 2009 I began to make giving of my time and my talents as well a part of almost my daily life. It's so important to me because being someone who struggles with mental illness, which means I struggle with impulse control, somebody who struggles with anthrophobia, which is the fear of people, it makes it difficult for me to interact with other people in a way that's harmonious. So being able to practice going the extra mile as I practice it has brought many blessings, many serendipities to my life. That in many ways would be the only way that I could receive these personal growth that I've experienced over the years. The first thing that going the extra mile has done for me is that it really truly revealed to me that I do struggle with mental illness. I've been, over the years, to one degree or another, in denial about my mental illness. Upon entering this process of really coming to realize that I truly struggle with mental illness, we can then work on the cure, versus just working on the symptoms and not understanding the symptoms. Not understanding this, the symptoms means that really we can't do a good job on either coping, as I do with, in the case of mental illness, or curing. If you want to talk about physical illness, where doctors don't adequately diagnose what is causing the symptoms, all they can do is treat the symptoms, but the illness really never goes away, potentially. Let's say if it's viral. So that was the case with me. That was the first blessing. I began to be able to work on my mental health and work on tools for coping and develop tools to be around people. Of course, it's not flawless, but I've been able to gather tools such as visualizing, sending, and receiving love that makes it possible for me to go out of my room every day and be around people just almost every day of the week. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing for me, versus being cooped up in my room because I don't want to be around people, which is really unhealthy and which really makes mental illness worse. There's many blessings that have been brought to me. That are mostly personality blessings, my ability to interact with other people, which is seriously important. But Napoleon Hill talks about the fact that going the extra mile, not just on our jobs, but particularly outside of our jobs, doing good unto other people and helping other people. And we can do that through whatever charity, or we can research and find a charity that we feel comfortable giving, for example, our money, our time, and our talents to. And we can stop once we feel something's not accurate or not right with that agency, but with that charity. But he talks about the fact that the law of going the extra mile, of doing for other people, doing good unto other people, not receiving anything back in return, it enriches our lives on the inside. And that while his laws of success, such as the mastermind principle, they're geared towards achieving money and achieving material success, in his later years, he sort of laments not practicing going the extra mile in terms of being charitable more, because of all that richness, that internal richness that is brought to our lives through going the extra mile. He talks about going the extra mile, about how going the extra mile, it infuses richness in every aspect of our lives, right? In a deep and profound and spiritual way, versus just acquiring lots of money. We become a shell. We become somebody with fancy clothes and a fancy body, and if we go the route of plastic surgery, a cute face no matter how old we are, fancy car, and all this kind of, all these material trappings on the outside where people can see and touch and feel and taste, but on the inside we will lack richness. Since our culture worships money, for a lot of people that's okay. We see very, very wealthy people who wind up going to mental hospitals or sometimes wind up being in prison because their life is a shell. They don't have a richness on the inside, and that's what going the extra mile gives us. That's what going the extra mile gives us. So I like the fact that he talks about that. I think it's unfortunate he didn't really get that down until his later years. My opinion is that he probably put that to practice as related to work giving a little bit more to your employer was more how he put that to work. Since most of my life I have not worked, most of my life I have either been like in a homeless shelter or on SSI. I haven't been able to do a lot of that on the job, but I've done most of it off the job through volunteering and through giving of my time, talents, and money. Unfortunately, on the job, which working as an extra was the main form of work I've done over the years, I didn't tend to give extra on the job. They'd call background and I wasn't always the first one to get up. So, you know, to go to set and to work. I wasn't always really ready. I remember one time they asked people to stay late and I was like, no, hell no, I'm trying to go home. So that would be an example of giving more on the job. Basically, I would say the law of going the extra mile, I love this law. It is my favorite law for the reasons I said, the fact that I can practice it alone, the fact that it enriches your life on the inside, and the fact that it's brought so many blessings, and it continues, right, to mature me and bring blessings in terms of my ability to interact with other people. And I find that to be priceless. So that's the gist of my talk. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, comment, commercials, recommend my videos. Do one or more of those things. Thank you. Best wishes.